Excellent. Thank you. So welcome everyone. On behalf of the CTLE, I'm Melissa Jones, and I just wanted to thank you for joining our base camp today. We have a special presentation and a guest presenter. And Patrick, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you lead the discussion. But if anybody has any questions or needs anything, I'll be monitoring the chat. So feel free to put your thoughts in there as well. So thank you again, and we'll get started.
Okay, give me 1 second to scoot all the Zoom pictures around, and I'll share a screen with you all, with all of you. Let's see, share. Okay, so yay. So you can see it on the iPad as well. Give it a moment. Okay, so you should be able to see the PowerPoint right now. Scoot everybody back over here. All right. So what I'm going to run through today is some information related to a couple of apps that I found to be pretty invaluable. I started using them this past fall. One of them, the Padlet, I actually heard about through folks who were giving a talk about Padlets at the previous faculty development talk. So that was pretty handy, and I've sort of been tinkering with them over the last academic year. And then Notability, one of my colleagues at another university mentioned using this particular app today, and I found it to be very, very helpful. So for me, I teach organic chemistry. So I'm in the Department of Math and Science. When I communicate to my students verbally, words are one thing, but they really need to see pictures, drawings of molecules, cave drawings, as they say. And so the picture that I've got up there is actually from the university, actually a small college I taught at before I came to St. Leo. And we are outside because it is a nice day and because a squirrel found the power transformer across the street and knocked out campus power. So we don't budge on losing lecture time. We have too much to say and give to our students as far as knowledge. So I took them outside and I scribbled my reactions on the sidewalk. We sat there, wrote these down, and chatted about everything. And that helped to get the discussion going. And so for me, being able to share pictures and structures is very important. Just like mathematicians need to write out equations. You could say 4x plus b minus 2x squared, square root of that. And the students, if they're just listening, they say, what did you just say? Can you go back? So a picture is really worth 1,000 words. And that's why I decided to use Notability, but more on that in a moment. So I found myself in the Zoom room trying to communicate these big structures and equations to my students. And for the first time this past fall, I actually used an Elmo. That was my first time using it. I know they've been around for a while. So I would use the document camera in my classroom. And invariably, there was a problem. Sometimes it was right off the bat, right when I started lecture. Sometimes we're midway through lecture and the Elmo would shut off, or it would click over to the camera on the computer monitor. And it was very frustrating. There are other situations where the Elmo wasn't showing up as a shareable option on the Zoom panel. And so I'm sitting there trying to get going, troubleshooting, wasting time lecturing. So it was very frustrating. I will say that IT here has helped tremendously. Roger Hines came over like immediately and would help out. He would inspect things before classes would start, and he'd make sure that I was good to go. But this was a problem. And so I'm sitting there, sometimes with a few kids in person and the rest of them online, and I need everybody to be on the same page, and my Elmo has died. So the first time it died on me, I was scrambling at the start of the lecture, figuring out what can I possibly do? I can't lose this lecture time, it's too valuable. And so I had my iPad with me, and it already had the Zoom app downloaded onto it. So I took my St. Leo mask and I rigged a document camera of my own, but of course it was top heavy and the Elmo would sort of tilt over, and I had to get the waste basket to help keep it going. And I would write my notes so that the students could see it. It would have been nicer if I had expected this and had the app on my phone, and then that's a little bit of less weight going on to that little hanging bar there. But I made this work. And then I said, that's pretty frustrating. It's not very helpful. So from there, I had Elmo issues in the classroom, and then I don't have an Elmo at home. So I started to use the screen mirroring function with the camera on my iPhone and my iPad. And I had these as my document cameras at home so I could write things out. The trouble with this is that sometimes, even if you're very careful and you're writing, you might shake the table or you move your arm, and the support for the clamp holding the iPad or the phone, it would sort of shift and it takes things out of focus. And that could cause headaches for all the students trying to see what you're trying to draw there and all the fine detail. So this was a little bit of a workaround, but it had some issues. I found these clamps available for 20 bucks or so. They're reasonable on Amazon. I do have the smaller one for my phone. I've actually used that to make video recordings to embed in PowerPoints when I'm in lab and trying to do all my virtual labs this semester. So there are little problems with all these techniques so far. And then one of my colleagues shared this app with me, this Notability app. So I purchased it, I think it was about maybe $8 or $10, and I have used it so much since it was worth the cost. I'm very happy I purchased this app. So what you should know is it's good for your phone, it's good for a computer, Windows or Mac, apparently it's compatible. I haven't downloaded it onto my computer, I've just kept it on my iPad. But they are thinking about expanding the options to put it onto other platforms. So really, if you want to use it, you need the iPad. I also have the link down the bottom of the screen if you wanted to go check out their site, or you could just Google it. So on my iPad, I have my neat little folder that has a bunch of really helpful apps. Some of them are related to chemistry. So I got these weird cave drawings up there. Don't be frightened. I've got Kahoot. Yes, I've tried that. I've got my Notability. Here's my buddy, the Padlet. And I found something very helpful that I never really used extensively in the past. And that was making use of the Google Drive and the university's OneDrive. So I've been learning a lot lately with trying to get things where they need to go, share files, collect things, edit stuff. And I've really become exponentially more tech savvy in the last year. I'm sure most people sort of have that feeling as well. So having these on my iPad, they're also synced, of course, with my desktop computer, my laptop. It's very easy to share information and work around the class and communicate things to the students. And so what I'm going to do is I decided I didn't want to make a little wonky video and embed it in the PowerPoint. So I'm going to step away from the PowerPoint for a moment, and I'm going to pull up the app and show you what it looks like, this Notability screen, and what you can do with it. So give me a moment to get out of this guy, and then I will make my iPad. I had my, oh, well, he's not, I can't make him a co-host, so give me one moment. I can share content. Oh, would you be able to change the setting for a moment, please, so I can share something from my iPad?
Just changed it for you. So Professor Sheridan, I think you should be good to go there.
All right, so let's see. So screen share, start my broadcast. I tell you, sometimes when I was at home and I was trying to screen mirror, my iPad for some reason wouldn't even show up on the network. So that was very frustrating. So I started to make my iPad the co-host, and that sort of solved the problem. Okay, so I'm screen sharing there. Move everybody around again. Thank you, Zoom. Okay, now. Okay, so this is what you got. Of course, my whole panel realigned over here. And I've got, on the left column, I've got all these folders that I've created. And you'll find I write so many notes and use so many things for classes and committees and students and communicating that I haven't really gotten around to truly making use of my folders as much as I would like. So I'm a bit unorganized in that way. But what you got is some files on the right side. And what I'll show you first off is how to create a note. So there's a toolbar up top, the top right, and there's the little, you can't really see him, the little pencil. So the icon in the top right is a little pencil over a square, and you just pull up this page, and it's pretty blank. And you can click on the pencil and say, whoa, let me say hi. That's pretty neat. And then I could say, that's a bit messy, I didn't like that. But what I tend to do once I start off with a note for my class is I give it a little bit of order. And so there's the 3-dot panel that's in the upper right, and I choose the paper option, and I give myself a grid. So that way, when I want to draw something for my students, it's hopefully a bit nice looking, it's presentable. So there's the toolbar at the top, and you've got the pencil that just became highlighted with red. If I tap on that, I can choose whichever color I want from the palette, and I can pick a different color, blue, black, green, yellow, whatever. I can change the font size. So I can draw a molecule that's got really thin lines, that's pretty neat. I can decide, you know, I want something that's a bit thicker and I want green. So I'll say, howdy, how y'all doing? And I can do this. If I want to edit something, as long as I have a broken line, I can go back and use the little toolbar to erase something. I can change the font color again and reintroduce that, use it as a highlighting option and direct my students' attention to something that I've changed as far as the color. In the toolbar up top, I have the option to use a little highlighter so I can change the color. I can, for instance, box something to draw their attention to a region of the note so they see what I'm doing. I can use the little arrow in the top towards the left that sort of squirrels to reverse that notation, and I can get rid of it. There's a little eraser right beside that that just highlighted at the top so you can erase whatever you might like. And then what's handy is sometimes when I'm drawing something for my students or sharing a text, I make it too big. And that's fine for me because I can edit and give the detail that I want. But I can use the little squiggly tool at the top and I can highlight my molecule and immediately resize move it around the page. And then I can say, look at this molecule. You know, and I have space to text or to write the text. If I want, I can highlight the text and I can switch in, zoom out, move it around, turn it around, get it out of the way, and it's pretty helpful. The other thing you can do is, what if you have particularly, oh, I'm sorry, I'll move this closer. I'm probably also talking too fast for you. Are you catching it, or is there any feedback by chance? No? So I've got all these options for changing the color of the font, resizing the font. I can cut the text away as I just did. I can tap to paste it back into place and scoot it around. So there's options there. It's pretty handy. If you're somebody that has pretty terrible handwriting, don't worry. There's another tool in the top area there in the toolbar. That's the T. And so if you tap on the T and you take your stylus and you tap the page, the screen, and draw a text box, a panel pops up for you to edit text. And if you look at the lower part there where the keyboard is, you can tap on where the little blue dot was and edit the color of your text. You can tap on the plus or the minus, and you can increase or decrease font size. And so I can put that in there, and I can also move that around and put it wherever I want it to be. So it's pretty handy with these drawing tools. Okay. Let's see. One of the other things that I found handy is that if I want, I can insert a picture. So you can go to the plus tab that's on the top right and click on the plus, and I can choose something from my photo library. And so, for instance, the other day I was talking to my students about a particular reaction. So I could keep my current selection. You can still pull up something from your photo library. I'll tap on the flask. I'll ask it to add it. And what I can do is I can say, you know what? I don't have a lot of space here for everything. So if you look at your toolbar, you go up to the top right and you see the deck of cards that's there. Everybody got the cards? Yep. So you tap on that and you can see that you can have multiple pages going. And so at the moment, it always has a default second page ready to go. So what I could do is tap on the cards and hide them. I tap on the top tool that is the hand, And the hand lets me drag pages and move things around. So what I'll do is I want to move my picture that I just inserted so it's not on top of all of the text. So I go back to the top toolbar. And by the way, I know I'm running through all of these little things and it's probably a little bit quick, but I had never used this app before. So I just downloaded it and I went hog wild and I just started drawing things and trying to resize and figure out what it could do. When I had a question and I wasn't sure, well, maybe you can do that. How do I share this file or do something? I went to Google. And there's also a little spot I'll show you later. There's a question mark in the previous screen where you can tap on it and it takes you to the Notability page and you can do a search function there. So I honestly, I figured a lot of this out on my own. But what I can do is, again, back to the original problem, I want to move my picture. So what I can do is I go to the top toolbar, I hit the squiggly thing. You can see that's sort of grayed out at the top. Then I use the stylus to tap my picture and I drag it wherever it wants to go. And then I say, well, maybe I don't want it to be that big, so I can scooch in. Perhaps I want to highlight something. So then I can go back to the pen and I can start to highlight, oh, there's the flask, and just draw whatever you like. I found that the students, because I'm drawing lots of molecules and examples and I want them to focus on unique things, I tend to go back to the color palette a lot so I can make these little modifications. So when I talk about something, they know exactly where to focus on in my discussion. So that's there. And I can move it again if I like. And resize it and keep it there, and it's pretty handy. Okay. Let's see, what else do we know? When I'm over here, I can add extra pages where I can delete pages if I like. So let's say that I want to add a page. And I went to the little card icon, the stack of cards in the top right. I tapped on that and it gave me this far right panel, which has these multiple pages. I can use the stylus and tap on the top page and I can add a page, cut something, clear a page, or delete something. This is really handy when I put together my notes for class. Then after class, I clean everything up and I email the document to my students and I put it on D2L for them to review, as well as the Zoom recording. So if I have things that are extra, I can get rid of them very fast, or I can add an extra page right away. And so let me just go back to this guy. I'll put a little squiggle on there, and then I'll say, you know what, I want to add another page. And well, the other one's clean, but you get the idea. You can start to stack up your pages if you need them. Let's see. So back over there. Yep, there's also the help icon there in the top 3 little lines in the top corner if you need them for anything. So let me go back to the previous page. These are a lot of the standard functions. I won't go back to the previous page just yet. So these are a lot of the standard functions up top in that little toolbar. There's the ability to make text, alter the font. You have the color palette for the pencil. You can change the size. There's even an option down there if I wanted to highlight something important. So highlighting something important, I can use the different text box or a drawing tool to make it dotted. You can erase things, you can copy things, you can resize things, and that's so very, very helpful. Let's say you were done with your note and you wanted to share it. What I can do is I look at the top of the panel, the top of the screen, and you see on the far left, there's the little rectangular or square shape with the arrow pointing up. Okay. So when I tap on that, what I can do is I can send this immediately to my Google Drive or my OneDrive, or I can email it to myself, whatever I want to do. Maybe I'm not at home at my computer and I want to share it. So what I do is I click email, and then I do something pretty helpful. I look at the page range, and I see that there are 3 pages highlighted because the program always gives you that last page. You can select whichever pages you want. So let's say you've been working with a student on some problems, and the second page has answers you don't want anybody else to be aware of just yet. You want to release it later. You can deselect that page and only share what you want. So I just pick the first page. What I then do is I go back and I can email it. And so it pops up right away. I pick my address, hit the little blue arrow and off it goes, and it's rather quick. It appears pretty quickly. I don't have to wait for a very long time. Okay, so that's pretty handy. Do you guys have any questions so far? It's just a lot of fun for the tool to draw things.
I think, Patrick, one of the things I really like about this app is that, you know, in the olden days when we would write our formulas or notes on the board, we erased them. You know, if we ran out of space, we erased them and then started with a fresh board. And especially for students who need accommodations, this, you know, provides a nice record of the class, and they don't have to stress over whether they got everything or not. It's all right there. And, you know, the ability to be able to just send it so quickly to your email or post it is just incredibly invaluable.
Yes, and it's just rapid. You're done with it, boom, send it off. You don't have to wait to get to the copier to scan something. Of course, now you can use your phone or even the iPad. There is a function here that I have not used yet, and that is in the toolbar on the top, sort of close to the right, there's the little microphone, so you can make dictations for this document, but I haven't done that yet. I just send it off, and they get the copy of my my Zoom talk presentation. So there's a lot of features. The old college I was at, I was blessed. I had 6 huge chalkboards. I've been drawing with chalk for like 15 years. And then I came here and I had 2 small whiteboards. And it really hurt my soul. It's like, no, I need to write. You don't understand. But having this tool has been tremendous help. So let me point out a couple of other features for you. I can look at the top toolbar, and all the way on the left, there's the little caret arrow pointing towards the left to go back. And so I can go back and I can pull up, say, some notes that are here, and I can mark it up and say, oh, I didn't want to do that. So if you mark something up, you didn't want to do it, just go backwards. But what if I have a file that I want to edit, some student emailed me something. So what I can do is, this is even good for like DocuSign. If you've got a document, you're working with something that needs to go back to your chair, you need to sign off on something, you can download the PDF, sign it, and send it right off. So what I do is, when I get an email that has an attachment that I need to work with, like a student has sent me a picture of their scribbles, okay? I go to the email and I click save. I don't want to print it or forward it or anything. I save it, and I save it to the OneDrive. And so you can do that from your email. I won't pull up my email because I have a lot of students emailing right now, and I don't want you to see their terrified statements going on. But what you could do is go to the top right, the little toolbar with the square and the down arrow. And you'll see that you have access to your OneDrive or Google Drive. And so I'll go to OneDrive, and it opens up my folders in a second. And so what I'll do is, the folder that's pre-created, pre-designated there is attachments. I tap on attachments, and they're the files that I've saved to my OneDrive. And what I can do is, I tap on the file I want, I say create new note, and I import it. You give it a second, and then you can either click done or open. If you click done, it's okay. It just appears at the top of the Padlet you've been working on. And so I can go there and I can pull up a file, and I can start to edit and put whatever I need on there. And then I can save it to the OneDrive. I can forward it back to the class, to the student, whatever I need to do with it. So again, you can go there and you can download files from whichever resource you use more frequently, Google Drive or OneDrive. And that's pretty handy. If you're really, really good at organizing, you can look in the left side and you can create folders. You can create little subcategories there. So I have committees at the bottom. You can see them, make them go away, hide them, whatever you need to do. Let's say that you've been working on a file and you want to store it and get it out of the way so it's organized. What you can do is hold the stylus down on the file of interest and drag it to the folder you want it stored under. If you caught it real quick, what if you have a file that you don't really want to destroy, you're happy with everything there, but you want to make a minor edit to send to someone? You can duplicate your file and rename the file if you need to and send it off. So let's say I've got my top note there, note is March 3rd. I can duplicate it and my copy is right at the top. And so you can open it, go in, do whatever you need to do. And let's say you don't like that file name. If you scroll up to the top, so you use that little hand tool at the top of the screen. If you're down below, you won't see it. But if you scroll up to the top, you'll see on my note, your pictures are on the way. But it says note March 3rd, 2021 copy. I can click the T for text, then tap on that note name. And edit the name and send it off. So you're not betraying any sort of information if you want the actual file name to be private or whatever it might be. So it's pretty handy for lots of editing, lots of sharing information. And then if you wanted to add extra folders or subsections, you just click on the plus that's in the top left and you can start to edit file names. Let's say you type something and there was a typo for your folder, you can click edit. And so when you click edit, you can edit the file names. So I clicked on the one that said NMR, I clicked on the little wheel, the cog that's there, and I can edit the name, change the color, whatever I need to do. So it's pretty handy. It's very, I found to be a bit user-friendly, and whatever I didn't know, I just Googled. So do you guys have any questions? No, pretty good. It's fun. So it'll work with Apple for iPads and your iPhone, and it should work with Windows. The problem is I don't believe, I'm pretty sure you can't use it on an Android. Okay, so that's pretty helpful. I just keep this on my iPad because I should be wearing these. And so it's helpful for me to zoom in and see what I'm doing instead of the little phone screen. Okay. Well, with that, that's pretty much in a nutshell a lot of the fast walkthrough for my Notability app. Okay. You might have caught this earlier when I did this screen share, that I have my education folder and I have my Padlet that I get to every now and then. This is a blessing and a curse because how many of you have used Padlet before? So, no. Well, I get notifications. So when my student answers a question at 1 in the morning, my iPad, which is of course beside my bed because I was reading, lights up. So no problem. I'm going to run through the Padlet in a moment. So of course it's 1 in the morning and I see the light and I see what they've said and I feel compelled to answer. And so this happens a lot, and sometimes I don't get a lot of sleep. So sometimes it's important to go through and make sure you turn off the notifications. Okay. All right. So a couple people have not used Padlet before. Okay. So let me get out of the screen share on my iPad, and I'm going to roll back to my PowerPoint for a moment. Okay, so that should have loaded. What I have for you back in the PowerPoint is just a quick little run through of the different things I've tried to show you for Notability, creating the note, editing the page, the different drawing tools that are there, accessing the OneDrive, emailing a file. It's pretty cool, and it's very helpful. And honestly, my students have said they love it because when I'm writing and sketching things out, they can follow along at that pace and they're not rushed like me running through a PowerPoint with the talk where they miss something or they want to write it down. So we work well together. So what I've got for you next is the second part of the talk, which is the Padlet. And again, this was introduced to me by colleagues at the university during a faculty development. And there were so many tools that were introduced that day, I sort of felt overwhelmed. There was Flipgrid, there's Padlet, they've got Kahoot, all these things. So I tried Padlet. what I found was that it's cool, but there's little drawbacks. One of the things you should know is that Padlet now has a free version, which only gives you the option to make up to 3 Padlet pages. So it's a web page where you get to design how you want to create posts and share information and coordinate activities with students, discussions and such. So if you're good with just 3 Padlets, you can use this. Once you're done with the Padlet, archive it. You can save it as a PDF, and you can see all the posts, which makes it handy for grading later. But it also has a limited file upload size. I forget what that is, but it's probably just a few megabytes. So I was tinkering with this with my 3 free Padlets, and I quickly realized that my brain is going in too many directions with the projects I want to put out there and create for my students. So I got the premium version. So I pay for this. I thought the university would pick it up, but I've got to chat with them about this. So I pay $10 a month, and I can create as many Padlets as I want, as many pages. I haven't hit 250 megabytes yet for big files, so I'm good there. And I can create folders to sort of scoop all of my Padlets away for different classes and sections and projects. So let me show you what I've used them for. My introduction day, the first day when I meet my students every semester, we go through the syllabus and we say, hey, how are you? Where are you from? What are you majoring in? What do you want to be when you grow up? This is great when you're in person and you can interact with the students and we have a good time. I get to put a name with a face. And in Zoomlandia, I've got icons. Sometimes they're blurred. Sometimes they don't have the video on. I'm like, who are you? Are you my student? I don't know. So they were very nice. Every single student participated. I blurred out their faces. This web page that I created on my Padlet, only the people who have the link to that page can access it and see this. For us, I blurred out their names and their faces for anonymity because it's students. You can also change settings to allow people to edit, to share posts, to delete stuff, whatever you want to do. So there's a variety of settings. But this is my introduction day, and there are more posts. You'd scroll down and you could learn about your students, chat with them if you want to. One more thing. What you might notice is, if you can see it, down the bottom of these posts, people can add comments. So you can share information. You can add text. Some of them you can add images. So for instance, when my students have problems they're working on and they want to send an answer or share it for a problem, they upload the image. You can even upload little videos as comments. So it's pretty versatile. In chemistry, I try to make it applicable, and I have these really cool info color graphics that I can share with them. Candy, books, avocados, popcorn, kitty cats. I prefer dogs. Sunscreen. All of these really cool infographics I can share with the students. They can learn a bit about the chemistry, and you can fine tune this to whatever you're teaching, whatever topic it is. It doesn't have to be science and chemistry. Maybe it's psychology, maybe it's art. You can put, if it's not got copyright, artwork up there, or some image for them to look at and discuss. So it's a great area for posting. With Padlet, you have the option of creating different style pages. I tend to prefer this kind where I can stack things in columns so it's easy to see and move from one column to the next as you scroll across from left to right horizontally. But others, you can make them in sort of like a timeline. Others can be more random. So there's lots of options for actually designing your Padlet page. I use it for problem sets. I make them themed so that I can hopefully engage the students and they have a good time while they're working to learn. And that it's sort of like, you want them to be healthy and you feed them broccoli. And in order to make that happen, you have to put cheese on it to entice them. So here I entice them with really cool names and, hey, you get to pick your column. You want to be the vampires? That's your group, you go with it. And I put these images in there. I can share the introduction information or the instructions on the left side. I also put this information in D2L so they can find the links, they can find the directions, they can also find it here. It's everywhere. The gray spaces, I've blocked out the student comments, but I've left a couple of images where you can see. Can you guys see my cursor? Okay, so you can see that students had their notebook and they wrote something out and they just shared the image. They took a photo of it and shared it right away. So this is a great way to communicate, especially when Words just won't do. I've got to see pictures, and they have to see what I'm saying as far as molecules. When you look at this Padlet, you can see the spaces are there for them to comment, and you can make it individual problems, you can make it discussion posts, you can make it group work. It's pretty cool. I've got the cursor over one of these little sections up top under the ghosts category. You can click on that picture that I've embedded in the little applet, and it opens up. And so you can bring it full screen so you can actually make sense of it. You can also save that file to your computer if you want to print it out and use it later. So that's pretty handy, pretty nice. Again, there's group work. I have instructions on the left. I made it nice and fun for them. Hey, pick your superhero. Captain America, work in this group. Iron Man, work in this group, you name it. And they've responded well to it. It's sort of like giving them a treat to make them happy, get the pleasure sensors going off. Like, I love movies, I love Thor. Let's figure this out. Seems crazy, but it works. This is new, and this is pretty cool. And I have shared the link with you there. So this is my Padlet page, padlet.com. I signed up for Gmail when Patrick was not available, so it's Patrick76. And this is the name of my room. I also linked it as a hyperlink to the little lion logo on the top. I've started to create escape rooms. Any of you guys ever heard of escape rooms? Cool. So this is new to me. I belong to a Facebook group that is Strategies for Teaching Chemistry Online. Thousands of chemists and some biologists that are in there too. They got in, and scientists from across the world, universities that are big and small, research to teaching, private colleges, public, community colleges, even high school teachers, you name it. And we share a lot of information, strategies, frustrations, you name it. And so a while back in the fall, people were talking about these escape rooms. Some of them use Google documents, but I really like the idea of pictures and being able to see things. And so what I did was, this is my first attempt at a Padlet. So you can find up top, if you can see that there in the mustard green. By the way, you can edit the icons, the text, the color schemes, the background, whatever you want. You'll see some pretty cool ones coming up. But this was my first go round. So you can see as I was adding questions and creating images and saving them on my desktop, I started to scoot things around. So instead of going from station 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, I have 1, then 2A, then 2B, and 2C. So I'm going to roll this out at the end of the semester as a great review. I'm tying together lecture and lab content. And so at that point, everything will be fleshed out. It'll be nice and streamlined, and I can make these unique pages. I've had 3 students already run through this as a group. So the goal is, I have the luxury of teaching labs that have pretty low enrollments. They're capped at 15 students because of lab space, but now we're on Zoom. So what I can do is block off time for 3 to 4 students, give them 50 minutes to work through this problem set. And I've got the instructions. If you want to pull this up on your own screen with that web page, you can scroll down with these little icons and things and read the questions if you like. But the dinosaur in my lab, that's my lab. That's actually a dinosaur from last Halloween, 2 Halloweens ago. It has the instructions. And so what they do is they go to station 1, they scroll down, they have to come up with the answer. And so I ask them, is that your final answer? And they say yes. If it's correct, they move to the next station. If it's not, I give them a 1-point deduction and they still have to brainstorm. If they're struggling on it, after a while, I sort of play the Jeopardy music and say, okay, move on. See what you can do with the next question. When you roll through all of these questions, you get to the, hey, you've survived, awesome, you're free, you've escaped the room. So the 3 students that I had run through this as my guinea pigs really loved it. And so I can fine tune this to make sure that I have questions that are appropriate. The students should be able to hopefully work through it, and they won't be stuck on one problem for 20 minutes if all they have is 50 to get through like 7 or 10 stations. So it's pretty cool. So this was my first attempt. And so then I made that and I was really giddy and I shared it with my friends on my Facebook page and they're like, that's so cool. And I said, but wait, do you remember when I showed you that introduction page with my students? One of the things I asked them outside of the major and what do you want to be when you grow up is, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite poem or piece of art? You know, what's your hobby? Not trying to pry. So invariably, there are things that I've never heard of. I'm like, okay, interesting. But there's Marvel, there's you name it, cartoons, there's Harry Potter. That's pretty big. And so what I'm working on is an escape room that's based off of Harry Potter theme. And so what I can do is have the group come in for their time. They read the instructions, go through what they need to do. They get to pick a house, and then they can link from that house to their own escape room. And so what I did was I made this Gryffindor escape room. All the others are under construction at the moment. I'm trying to make them appropriate for the groups and their skills and abilities with content. So I made this little panel. Here's my Gryffindor escape room. I'll run through it in a moment. As usual, they're used to the pattern by now. Instructions are on the left. That's the Padlet on the left. And you'll see that sort of in the background there, the tree of life. There's my instruction map. So you open it up and this is where we're going. This is how they're going to escape the room. They start at the top, Station 1, History of Magic. You answer that, you move on to Station 2, which is a new column, and you get to choose. You can do potions or charms. If you answer correct, move on to Station 3 and so forth. And in the end, you escape if you've answered all these questions correct. And it's pretty cool. The students seem to like it. I hope they appreciate it. But, we sit here on Zoom and we chat with them sometimes. And in chemistry and some of the science classes, we need to draw a lot of things. We need to write a lot of things. And so much of our time is consumed with just trying to get the information out to them. And we don't have a lot of time for free discussion in our format. Sometimes there's not a lot of opportunity for active learning exercises. And so I thought that this could really make them happy about their experience so that by the end of the semester, they don't realize how much they've learned. And then we tie it together with this, and they hopefully feel that they've accomplished a great deal and they've done it in a fun way. And so they're going to be exiting the class with hopefully a very positive experience and a positive sense of what we did, where we've been. Because organic for me, it's fall semester, spring semester. They're with me the whole year suffering. So I just think they really appreciate this. So there's the Harry Potter theme. Okay. And so you can scroll through. It's pretty funny content. I tailored the statements to Harry Potter characters in real life situations. There are real molecules here. Just trying to see if they can apply content and puzzle out or get the puzzles that I give them, solve these things and work through it. So it's pretty cool. My last escape room is sort of a different design where instead of letting them work through the columns like that and they're forced to finish column 1, then pick column 2, then column 3, I say here's 5 options. Pick whichever one you want. And you guys work together. You can comment on the posts. You can upload your pictures of what you're sketching. We're on Zoom, so they could also use the whiteboard if they want. There's lots of options for them to work through this. And they're really clever. They're very quicker than me. And so here I themed it with muses. They get through the muse, they solve it, they enter the holy hand grenade of Antioch as their weapon to fight the Titans if you were able to scroll through to the next screen. So I just want to get them engaged. And so this is where I've been going with Padlets. And so very quickly, you can see why the free 3 Padlets doesn't work for me. It's really fun to do this and they really enjoy it. So I sit up late at night making Padlets and coming up with questions. And then I've got my Notability app so I can scribble the ideas down. I get myself into trouble. So I believe that's sort of what I've got for you today for thinking about the Notability app, sketching and sharing material, and perhaps using Padlets. So if you guys have any questions, perhaps if I spoke too quickly and there's feedback, you didn't catch a thing I said, just let me know. I've been muted the whole time. So let me see. Chat. Oh, there we go. Hold on. There we go. Chat over there.
I can unmute now that you're finished. I was just pecking away, but I just wanted to say there's so much awesomeness going on there. So thank you for doing this. I'm disappointed you didn't get to do this during Faculty Development Day, but this is great. I hope word gets out that people need to go revisit this recording because it was awesome.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to help. So hopefully you guys picked up on something you liked and maybe you can use it in your classroom. And of course, if any of you have been using Padlet and you've got some ideas, I'd love to see what you've been working on and how you've approached using it in your classrooms too.
I hated organic chemistry in college. It was like the worst
What?
2 years of my life because I had to drop the second one twice.
Oh no.
But if you had been my professor for this, I think I could have gotten through it. I survived, but I hated it for 2 years.
Well, I'm mindful of that because I was there. You know, I had to start from somewhere, and in fact, when I took general chemistry in college, I started out as a chem major. I went to my preceptor and I said, you know, I don't think I like this. and she said, hold on, don't give up yet. Take organic, see what you think. And you know, I took it. My first exam beat my senses, and I was like, that's not going to happen again. And so I found it to be very, very interesting and very much the challenge. And I forced myself, and I just went at it full speed. And I found that I really loved it. And so I find that students are sort of in the same boat when they start out. They're like, this is too crazy. It's cave drawings. I can't make sense of it. What are the rules? And so if you work with people to try to figure out the rules and you find a cool way of introducing the content to them, it's been helping. You know, you have to really.
The other part too is that with organic, whatever you learn day one, you still need to remember that for day 2 and day 45. And so what happened to me is I was used to studying for classes, but then just kind of bringing in the knowledge, putting it on the test, and moving on to the next part. But with organic, you couldn't do it. And I think what you've done with these escape rooms and some of the other things is keep the student engaged so that they see that it's building on each part of it, on and on and on. That's the part I never understood. That's why I had to drop, you know, the second semester of organic chemistry twice, because I realized I needed to go back and relearn organic chemistry 1 to get through number 2.
I was just about to try to pull up my Padlet again and show you one of my class notes, and you know, it's still spinning, so it's got an issue. But what you've just hit on is something that I recognized a while ago too. So when we finish the Notability material for the day, I share it, post it to D2L. When we come back at the next meeting, the first block of notes underneath my, hey, this is where we're going this week. Remember, quiz this time at the end of the week. This is the content. These are our learning outcomes. That next page, I copied the material from the last lecture notes and said, hey, here's the fine points to remember. This is what we've been talking about. We're going to add and introduce new stuff and then see how it jives together, because you have to keep harping on that content. So many classes are like that. It builds so you can't forget. And so I know I've known a lot of professors who just go straight through and they don't look back. And when you're at a teaching institution, that's just not the way to go. So I hear you. I know.
I put this question in the chat, but I'll ask it out loud anyway. So what kind of impact has this had on your students' performance? Have you seen a difference in the results that your students are experiencing this year versus past semesters?
I think so. I think that there's been a good improvement with some problem solving skills, because the first semester I made everything mandatory and I made it a part of the grade. Now we're just having fun because it's a bit more intense, but they still keep up with it. And I found that a lot of the problems that I was posting and getting them to stop and really think through it and discuss it amongst their friends to give them that opportunity in the forum, it's really helped with not just scoring well in the quizzes, but when I ask questions in Zoom, I find that there's more depth in their feedback and I have more students contributing. So I think it's helped a little bit. I'm trying to pull up the little chat window and for some reason it doesn't let me see. There we go. Ah, here you are. So now I'm seeing all these little comments and finally loaded onto my screen. Okay. Well, you're welcome. Sorry about that. Oh, there you go. I see that you posted the link for my Padlets. Well, if there are no other questions, I guess we're good to go and everybody can sneak off and get something to eat.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Again, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this, and I really look forward to sharing this recording out and sharing it with other people as well. And I think just before we leave, I believe Karen had our wrapping up thoughts here.
Quick and easy. Thank you so much. That was very cool. You are uber creative. That blew away any kind of Padlet I've ever created. So bravo. If you don't mind, before you head out, we have a quick survey for you to take. It's in the chat. It's only going to take you a few minutes. Should be like less than 5, and there's about 8 questions. If you do not mind, please complete that for us. So we would appreciate it. And thank you again. This was fabulous. And Melissa.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And we'll hang around for a few minutes if anybody does have any questions after the recording.